are finally live. Welcome, everybody, to another DC CyberSec podcast where we talk about everything AI, automation, cybersecurity, IT, digital nomad, general life, everything in between, basically. Um, yeah, it's I'm keen. This is number two on the list, and we've got some interesting news stories to talk about today, which I'll just bring up on my phone. But before we get to that, I would like to mention today's sponsors, which are the first one is sugarsecurity.com. So Sugar Security is a web service pen testing automation system, essentially, where you can go to the website, you type in a target URL, and it does an automated scan of that website. The results are, depending on what sort of package you get, are pretty good. The basic version gives you obviously a very basic and free overview of the vulnerabilities that are on a website. But the more advanced one, which is like a full-blown web app, is actually pretty cool. So I would highly recommend having a look at that and checking it out. Just running a free scan. It's pretty useful if you're doing your own recon against a website and you want to just make sure that you haven't missed anything, or just to see if there's any other results that are potentially available out there. So I use it fairly often just because it's fun, which is why I recommend them as a sponsor of this channel. So yeah, check it out, sugarsecurity.com. The other sponsor for today, and the last one that I'll mention, is of course the Safer Internet Project. The Safer Internet Project is a creation of mine, which is to essentially give you guys and everyone out there a hands-on learning experience of cybersecurity. What I do is I go out to different businesses and I organize a pen test with those businesses. Then myself and Colin jump on to a live stream just like this, and we teach you exactly what we're going to do to pen test that client, all the way from recon through to the end result pen test and report. So yeah, you get to see everything, the full exploitation, the report writing, the communication between the client, like literally everything. You get to be essentially as if you were an employee of the company. And it's kind of there to emulate that experience. So if you're interested in that, head over to saferinternetproject.com. All right, sponsors are out of the way. Let me find my news articles really quick. I remember the first one because it was pretty interesting. The first one was ChatGPT 4, the OpenAI ChatGPT 4 model is now available for paying API customers. Now, if anyone out there is using the API, I know I am. I use the API very often, and just mostly for fun. But I do use it for other stuff like some automated marketing and just messing about. It's pretty cool. Like it's the 4 model is so much better than the 3. If anything in there, if you haven't had much success with 3 and writing out different kinds of text, then 4 is definitely going to blow you away. It's leaps and bounds ahead of 3, and I think it's definitely worthwhile that you guys check it out. It's it's there to help, and it's a pretty cool system. And I think they're still being sued. OpenAI, that is, by whoever it is that is suing them. I can't remember now, but it's cool. So have a look. If you're actually on the paid API version, definitely check out the new version of the API because you've got access to it anyway. I'm gonna get comfy real quick because I'm actually like pretty tired. I was up late last night, and I just kind of woke up a minute ago. So give me a sec. Got my mouse here. It's gonna be good. Yeah. The other news article was actually about OpenAI being sued, and they're still being sued, which kind of sucks. But there has been some progress in the way of where they got their data from. And as expected, it's all tied up in legal stuff. So that they're not really like giving too much away in the way of like, this is exactly how we got it. Of course, I mean they're not going to give away the secrets that easily. But yeah, watch this space. I'll report on it more as it happens. But yeah, they basically said that it's open source information and blah blah blah, which is kind of interesting for anyone in the OSINT community, because imagine if you could, well, this is what they're saying anyway, that they've built a full AI engine off open source information. I'm not too sure. I don't know if I believe it, but yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, watch this space. It's going to be an interesting play out over the next little while, and yeah, I'm kind of keen to see where it all goes, because, like I said in the last podcast, if you are collecting this huge amount of data, right? You're training an AI to the level that it was on 3, then okay, it's like where did you get it all from? Did you just scrape the internet? And I think that's kind of the problem, because a lot of places are saying like you can't just scrape everything on the website that is against the website's privacy policy. Um, but I mean, what if they did? And what if everyone else does it? Like Google has spiders, Bing even has spiders. All of these search engines have some sort of search indexing system. So, what's so bad about AI doing a very similar thing? Is it a different type of technology that they've used to scrape that information? Is it not the same as a spider? Maybe. I don't know. Let me know. I'm keen to have a discussion around this, because it's, as it folds out, it gets more and more interesting on where it's going to end up. So yeah, always keen to have a chat about AI and how they got their information. But yeah, the that's actually all I had for the news. There was a little bit more on that Lazarus group from that I mentioned last week, but it's just that one dude has been potentially arrested. But the group has been found to be out of North Korea. So I mean, arrested could be a lot of different things. I don't know a lot about North Korea, so I'm not going to assume to know any of their legal systems or laws. But yeah, if I mean, yeah, the guy's either screwed or not. So yeah, but yeah, it's Lazarus Group. Well done on your malware, I guess. It's a pretty good one as far as Mac malware goes, or OS X, I should say. But yeah. Now, on a topic that I know I have covered 1,000 times, but I think is worthwhile covering again, is how to get started in cybersecurity. And for those of you who are all like, "Oh, here we go again," it's the how to get started in cybersecurity thing. I want to mention it because I think things have slightly changed since the last time I made a how to get started in cybersecurity. And this time I want to focus heavily on bug bounties, because of their absolute uselessness in the industry right now. So, don't get me wrong, it's a controversial statement, I know, but hear me out. So, bug bounties, great for earning experience, great for the I guess the ecosystem of cybersecurity. They're good for the industry in that sort of way. However, they are the most useless thing in the world for getting started in cybersecurity as a career. I'm still getting so many people trying to message me, and I don't care about the messages. The messages, keep the messages coming. That's not where I'm going with this. It's people asking me, I've been doing bug bounties for 1, 2 years, all this long period of time. I've been spending all this time. I found like 1 or 2 bugs and I've been paid out like 3 grand. I'm like, congrats, that's more than most people. They're like, but I can't get a job. I'm like, that's because no one in the industry who's employing you gives a shit if you did a bug bounty. And that's the line. That's where I'm going with this. If you're trying to make cybersecurity your career and you're focusing on doing bug bounties as your learning experience solely, you're just doing bug bounties, it's not going to help. You need to do a bit more than that. You need to do what, I mean, like, it's mainstream, but it's useful. Like the reason that people do bug bounties now is because they want to earn a little bit of experience. Some people do it to earn money, and I have massive issues with that because I don't think it's a very worthwhile way to spend your time. Especially with a lot of the programs are reducing the amount of money they give you and they're giving you perks instead. Like, we'll give you a fridge of Red Bull or some shit. And you're like, that's great, but I need hard cash. Like, I can't live on Red Bull. Although you probably can, but you probably shouldn't at the same time. So yeah, bug bounties are a good way to learn something, but a terrible way to get a job. If you put on your resume that you worked as a bug bounty hunter, people, like, employers laugh. I'm not even joking. It's laughable. That's how ridiculous it is as a experience piece. Many better ways to earn experience. Many better ways to boost your own profile. And if you want to have a chat, you're more than welcome. I can talk to you one-on-one about those things. But look, I'm not here to advertise my own service. I'm here to tell you that bug bounties are not going to be helpful in the long term for your career if you're just focusing on doing bug bounties. Bug bounties is like a side career of its own that is good to do, but also a huge waste of resources and time. So that's my rant about bug bounties and how to get started in cybersecurity. There's many better ways to boost yourself into the future of a career in cybersecurity. It's usually a combination of experience and certifications, depending on what area of cybersecurity you want to go into. There's a whole red team, purple team, blue team. There's all the other small little bits of cybersecurity that you can do to jump on. Have a look. What I will do, I'm not going to plug myself. However, I am going to plug this sweet sticker that I just saw on my desk. It says my other PC is your mum's, and I spelt it specifically in American, just for the US people out there. If you guys want to be a mad hacker, this is what you need. This is how you get started in cybersecurity. I'm joking. It's a cool sticker. I've got too many of them. Please buy some. All right. Away from the news and how to get started in cybersecurity and the basics there. While we're here, actually, I think there's 10 people, and there's only 3 likes. You know what to do. Smash that like button, guys. Come on, drop a like on the video. Help me with this podcast to push it forward. I'd like to, like I said last week, I'm going to be doing these every week anyway. So I just want to, find a good groove and a good flow for the podcast to make sure that it's going well. So if you have any feedback for this and anything that you would like to hear from the podcast, let me know and I'll see if I can include it. Now, on to automation in a sec. Oh, man. With some automations I've been working on lately, one specific automation, which has honestly been the biggest pain of an automation I think I've ever built. And it's because this is the first automation where I didn't get to talk directly with the client myself. It went through another agency. So I was talking to this other MSP owner that I know, and he said, "Hey, I heard you're pretty decent at automation." I said, "Yeah, man. I think I'm okay. Yeah, what do you want?" He said, "Oh, basic stuff." I'm like, "Here we go." And it's like, "Okay, yeah, sure. Okay, what is it?" He's like, "I want these forms filled out on a website that input information and it outputs as like a PDF and then emails the the people that need to get the email to be notified that the automation is complete. I'm like, sick. That is actually easy as hell. Let's do it. So then he sends me like this huge, I think it's like 24, 26 documents they're all PDFs, they're all locked. And he's like, and I want signatures on each. And I'm like, shit. Signatures on documents in like Microsoft Forms is a bit of an issue. I was like, all right, yeah, okay, let's do it. So I quoted it up. I got the job scheduled in. I had a look, wanted to check it out, and it turns out I had to use PandaDoc. So I went back to the client and said, hey man, we're gonna have to use PandaDoc. So your client, whoever they are, is gonna need to purchase PandaDoc because I'm not paying for a PandaDoc subscription for this person to even not even to try out this automation. It's not me. All right. So if you want it, you got to pay for it. Then I'll have a look. So the dude jumps on, comes back like 3 weeks later. I'd completely forgotten about this automation. I was like, "Yep, cool. Let's." He comes back. He's like, "Yep, we've got it. Here's a login. Blah blah blah." I'm like, cool. I jump on and I had to like basically recreate all of these 26 documents. So if you think about it this way, the automation was like the easiest part because once you get the documents in, it's all you can just load it into Flow, Microsoft Flow or Power Automate, whatever you want to call it. You can just load it into there and you just do it, right? But getting to that stage was so painful. It's like it was the worst thing. It was like burning individual hairs off my leg with a hot spoon. Like it was just so tedious and annoying. And what a weird comparison. Anyway, I got there in the end. I had to recreate every single one of these friggin' 24, 26 documents from scratch, completely from scratch. So I had to get into a PDF editor, convert them back to a document, and then mess about with the really messed up document, like Word document had been created, then upload them into PandaDoc, then create them as a template, then add in all of the fillable fields for them to put in, then put them into a form like a PandaDoc form, and then get it over to this freaking to Power Automate to then be filled out, and then then it goes out to all the people and blah blah blah. So getting to the automation stage was so incredibly painful, and it sort of reminded me that when you're talking with a client, and if I had been talking directly with a client, I would have actually tested this out initially and done a lot more talking about the solution because the solution actually changed a few different times. So once I uploaded, that's not even half the problem. Once I uploaded and had finished, I was like, great, I finished this job. It's all good. I sent it to this MSP. He then sent it to his client. He then comes back another week later. I've completely forgotten because I've done all this other work in between. Comes back and he's like, oh, the documents, that we need some changes on the document. And I'm like, oh man, that's out of scope. So you're going to pay for that. But yeah, sure. Let's. So I mean, it was just constant back and forward, and I was like, normally what I would do with these types of automations is I would sit down with the client, like do a live call, like a call, and be like, yeah, I'm building this now. I'm doing this, and then as you go through each of the sections, you can ask the questions, and it highlighted for me how important communication on things like scope and getting the right sort of solution to a client is when you can actually talk with them right there. Like if you're right in front of them, for example, like physically there, great. It's that's a good solution. I don't have time for like physical things, right? I'm on the other side of the world. I'm not going to be talking to them. So I mean, I'm going to do a Teams call with these clients. But because this guy was a client of a MSP that I'm helping out, I couldn't talk to them directly because that client didn't know that I was doing the job. They thought someone else, this MSP, was doing the job. I was just like a ghost automator, which is kind of cool term, and I'm gonna keep that, ghost automator. Yeah, but yeah, it was essentially like that. It's like ghostwriting but automation. So that's my war story of the week, and I'm keen to know, have any of you guys any of the how many people are watching? 11 people who are watching this right now. What's your war story of the week? What sort of gripes have you had? Have you ever talked to a client and had a completely different scope from what was given in the beginning to what was actually presented at the end? Was it a completely different solution, or was it, oh, you just need to fill in a couple of forms and automate it, or was it, no, you have to recreate 26 documents from PDFs into Word documents and then upload them, then change them again, and then upload them again, and mess about? Was it that? Was it a lack of understanding from that MSP on what their actual job was as far as scoping out things? And if you're watching this, Mr. Person who gave me this job, talk to your client better next time. Just have a better chat, man. Like, come on. You'd have to give me this sort of pain. All right. Anyway, that's my war story for the week. Now, while I'm waiting for anyone to talk about their war stories, if you want to, of course, I mean, it's up to you. I'm going to go back to the digital nomad lifestyle and what I've been doing. So this week I have traveled a little bit, not as much as like the last period that I talked about, where I went to like Chengdu and Beijing and Xi'an and all over the place. I have been to two cities in this, or two other than where I live, two cities in the last week, and as per usual, the actually there was one city, the last one I went to, which was I just got back yesterday, was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So I went to this. The long story short is that I went to this like village, right, to eat wild mushroom hot pot, because it's a thing. You have to eat it in this province. So it's still within this province, but it's out, right? It's a fair way up in the mountains. So yeah, I went out there, and the internet kind of sucked. It was pretty shit, I have to admit. So yes, it was a struggle to connect to my RDP server. I've got this, like I've said before, I've got this remote desktop server hosted in Google Cloud in Sydney. I don't need a VPN or anything to access it. I just RDP straight in. Simple, right? I don't have to use the bandwidth on my VPN account. It can get expensive though, because like the more you use it, the more it is. But it's always on, because I use it for pen testing as well. So the benefit of having this RDP, and I'm sidetracking myself here slightly, is that if you want to run like recon against a target, you can just run it, let it go, and like just turn off, disconnect from the RDP, and it's going to keep going. It'll just do its thing, which is great. It does cost money though. The more it's on, it's like an availability service. So the more that it's turned on, the more that you have to, pay for it to be on. But whatever. So yeah, internet issues as per usual are the main gripe of anything. And I guess the doing work for MSPs is also now being added to my list of hard things to do, because when you are working for yourself, but you're doing like some sub work for other MSPs, they have their own agenda, which is understandable, because I would as well if I was them. But they lack like a scope at all. They expect you to already know the details of what's going on in between those clients and them, and I have no idea, because I haven't talked to anyone. So there is a particular process to learn here as far as like working for yourself, digital nomad lifestyle thing, which is that communication is absolutely key between what you're doing and what you want to be doing. It's very tricky to have real conversations with people to understand where they want to go, in like what direction they want to take with the work that they're giving you, without actually having done a lot of work for them before. They also, I found out as well, a lot of MSPs, they really don't like paying for someone who's working like fully remote to do stuff, unless you have like a really good relationship with that MSP in particular. So it's interesting, really, because it's like these MSPs that I'm now doing some work for, I have built relationships with over the years, and I've been very nice to most of the MSPs, even if they haven't been very nice to me, because I was looking at this direction that I wanted to take of working around anywhere around the world. And I needed those relationships to be pretty solid so I could have a fallback option for work if things were getting not too busy or if I just wanted something different to do. So it's, yeah, the I guess the outcome here is that communication and relationships are probably the most important part of working for yourself, because you really need to have those in place to be able to talk to people to be able to get the jobs done. Yeah, that's a very long way around of getting to the topic. I saw a comment a second ago from, I think it was James. Was it James I saw? James Wood, what's up, dude? B Militant, welcome. Max CG, happy Monday. Happy bloody Monday, mate. James, here we go. Fully on-site is not yet accepted properly. In time will change though. Yeah, I mean, fully remote, it does work though in other countries. So I do some work for a US based MSP, and it's usually like pretty basic cybersecurity stuff like pen testing, etc. And they're completely fine with working anywhere. It's more about the skill of the person that they're employing rather than the location. But Australia is like, as per usual, a little bit backwards and behind in a few things. So, especially unfortunately, a lot of the MSPs that I do a lot of work for, they don't like the whole working remote, especially if they know you're in China type thing. It's more a political thing than anything else, and I won't get into it because this podcast is, like I've said before, not about politics. It's more about, although I mean the politics do come into, and it does affect being able to work depending on where you are. If I say to people I'm in Japan, they don't give a shit. But if I say to people I'm in China, they seem to flip out. Which is, fed by whatever information they want to believe in. Or like, I guess they're more concerned about the monitoring of the network traffic or something like that, which is fine. Everyone is entitled to their own belief or understanding of how the internet works. But yeah, Null, so, Colombia, what's up, dude? Yeah, if you want to ask questions, just chuck them in the chat, man. I'll answer any questions that come through as soon as they come through. But yeah, I'm basically just rambling about the sort of struggles of working for yourself when you're trying to run a working from anywhere type situation. And I want to outline these topics because it is something else that's asked fairly often of how do you work remotely? What are the pros and cons? What's the struggles that you come across as someone who works overseas entirely for yourself? I don't work for any at the moment. I'm not working for anyone. I only work for myself. Every now and then I do a small amount of work for another like managed service provider, usually based in Australia. And it's like outsourced work, like they've got too much going on or they don't have the resources or skill to do it themselves. So they say, hey, can you do this? It's usually automation or cybersecurity. Those are the two ones that I get most. So yeah, those are the struggles. That what I've just outlined is the struggles. But the benefit of the pro here of working around is that I was able to take like a 4-day trip out to the middle of nowhere, like these mountains, do a bit of work, live mostly life, like just sort of living, and then do a bit of work. And the billable time was still, once you get around to like when you actually get paid and when how much you bill, etc., it works out to be less money than I would make if I was working full time in Australia. For sure, it's definitely less than that. But the benefit is that you can go to these places and live life, and you don't need to spend as much money as you would when you're in Australia, because Australia is quite an expensive place to live. So in comparison, especially to like most of Asia, which is where I'm, traveling around at. So yeah, I saw a question come in. It's from Wi-Fi Addict. Cool name, man. Says, what's your advice on getting hands-on pen testing experience aside from opening shop for myself? I have the OSCP, PMPT, CRTO, OSCP, etc. The whole stack. Not having luck finding work. I'm going to plug my own service here because I know it works. It's the saferinternetproject.com. So if you go saferinternetproject.com, or if you go to the link in the description and click on the find me here and then learn how to hack, there is a service there called the Safer Internet Project, which is a service that I've created that gives you hands-on experience, like actual work experience. So when you become a member, you become a contributing security analyst, and that can go straight on your resume. There's different pen tests each and every week. So every week we do a different pen test on a real business client. And that's your experience piece right there. If you're then looking for a job, you've got, your OCP, depending on which country you're in as well. But I helped do a reference check for a guy in Russia. So I don't think my reach is that small. I think I could actually help out worldwide here. But what I do is I talk to recruiters in your area and try to help out to get you into a job. So I talk with these people. I say, hey, I've got this guy. I'm willing to put my own reputation on the line for. This guy is fantastic. You need to employ them. And I do that like pre-talk sales pitch of you to get you into a job. So that in itself is like a major piece. Living in the US, easy. I know a whole bunch of recruiters there. Most of them recruit at places like Amazon, though, like the FANG type companies. So I don't know if that's for you, but I do know a couple of smaller like security service providers in the US that I might be able to help with. So if you're keen, jump on to saferinternetproject.com and grab yourself a subscription and do the learning modules. If you've got all those certifications, the learning modules are going to be an absolute breeze for you. But the live pen test sessions might be quite useful for A, for gaining experience, and B, for just seeing what, I guess, a small business pen test looks like. We just finished up one. I just got the report this morning that I'm going to present next week after I've gone through and double checked everything to a client where we did a full API pen test. There was a crazy amount of APIs here that we pen testing against, and it was a pretty interesting pen test. So yeah, head on over saferinternetproject.com. Aside from that, if you're not having much luck even with the interview, like getting to an interview, then your resume probably needs some work. Please make a cover letter if you don't have one already. It's actually like sadly important to have a cover letter and to present yourself as professionally as possible. So it depends on where you're getting to in the stage of applications. But if you have all of these certifications and no experience, then it's the experience that's holding you back. If you have if you have experience and the certification that you said you have as well, then it's probably your resume that's holding you back, or some sort of presentable item. So yeah, that would be my advice to you to gain experience. But yeah, feel free to DM me in Discord as well if you want to have a chat about any of that stuff. So yeah, what was I talking about before the? I'm gonna have some water while I think. I've got there's this wisdom tooth right at the back. This is completely off topic. I've got a wisdom tooth at the back here that it's grown through ages ago, but now it's going out slightly. I think I might need to get it pulled out. I think I might need to get it ripped out because it is causing me some hectic pain. So much that, when you talk, and like you can feel the side of your mouth like rubbing against the tooth, and you're like, man, that tooth is manky. Like it's right out there. I should change this into like a just random diversion of conversation podcast. Maybe that's what the DC CyberSec podcast is about. Maybe it's an insight into the mind of me and the random shit that goes on. Speaking of which, random shit going on. Check out this. So I did this I did another university presentation last week, and let's get the camera over this way. There we go. And they gave me this like card thing, but it folds out into like this hand cut thing. Look at that. Look at that. How cool is that? What was that? I saw a comment there. Chinese dentists can pull it out at 2:30. 2:30. Mate. I'll give you a slow clap for terrible joke. Because that's like a top level shit joke. Like, come on. Come up with some better stuff than that. Yeah. Fuck, it really hurts. Maybe I should get it ripped out. Here we go. Noel is in with the question. I'm just gonna do like Q&A from now on, from like this part on until the end of this podcast that I feel like turning this off at. DC, I'm a UI UX designer. I have certifications as a junior pen tester and ethical hacking certification, but I'm having a struggle making the transition. Are my design skill useful? It depends how you word your design skills. So if you know any languages as part of the UX side of things, I guess even the UI, if you know any, it sort of really depends on how you present yourself here. So you can say like UI UX, and that's fine, but I would really outline the technology that you have learnt or that you use to do the job, because cybersecurity is slightly more, and it depends where you get into in cybersecurity, but it's usually more technical than a design type of IT role. The experience there is still good because you still have experience working for someone, I assume, and you still have, you have those basic certifications, which is good. I probably would have gone for some different certifications depending on what job you want, but I assume, did you say you want to get in as a pen tester? Sort of. You've studied to be a pen tester. So yeah, if you want a job in cybersecurity, and it depends, if you're in Australia, especially, if you have an OSCP, you get a job. That's usually how it works. Now, I don't know why the OSCP has such a huge swing. It's just such a well represented certification as far as pen testers go in the cybersecurity industry. And I'm talking every single recruiter that I talk to in Australia anyway. I don't know if you're located in Australia or not, but every single one in Australia asks for an OSCP. If you don't have the OSCP, don't bother applying. So, that's probably a good route for you to take as far as a learning certificate goes. Also, the content is great. Like you're going to learn something. People here as well, in Australia especially, but also in a lot of the Southeast Asia, I'll say. All of Southeast Asia, from Australia all the way up to, I don't know, Mongolia. They don't care about the Cyber Mentors certifications, and it's not a shot against the Cyber Mentor Heath or anyone over at the Cyber Mentor Academy or anything, but the employers just don't give a shit about those certifications because they haven't been in the industry long enough to have any sort of reputation. Just because a bunch of people on YouTube say that it's good doesn't mean that it's actually good. But the OSCP is actually good, and that's not from what me say. That's not me saying it, although I am saying it. It's also from the actual recruiters and the people who are in jobs and the hiring managers. They're the ones who are asking for that certification. It's not just me promoting something. So that's where I get the information from. Wi-Fi Addict says, would you recommend creating YouTube content to demonstrate skills, knowledge to bolster resume and or potential interviews? Yeah. Yes and no. So it's good in the way that you can show some sort of like, this is what we do and this is how I do it type situation, which is good. But it's also a huge time sap. What I would do is I would actually write like a LinkedIn articles blog or a Medium post with screenshots. So make it as visible and visual as possible, because people don't like, they're not going to go to your YouTube an employer is not going to go to your YouTube channel and search through what you're good at. Any of the places I've ever worked at, they have never cared about my YouTube channel or what I'm talking about. They're just like, oh, I think I saw you once on YouTube when I was searching how to use Hashcat. And I was like, cool. Great. But if you have an article on your LinkedIn, which is essentially your online resume, that's useful. That's where things get handy, because they're going to go to your LinkedIn profile and they're going to look up any sort of job references that you have. If you have a recommendation from an old employer that's on LinkedIn, or if you have different types of skills that you've put in on your profile and people have upvoted that you have that particular skill and that you're good at that particular thing, that's what they care about, and that's what LinkedIn is good for. So I'd put it on LinkedIn. If it was me, I'd write LinkedIn articles or a blog post on like a free website or something like Medium, something like that. I would do that instead of talking on YouTube, because it also shows that you can write professionally. So that's another skill as far as things go. So yeah. Opinion on LinkedIn networking for finding a job. I've found a lot of jobs through LinkedIn, so I would agree that it's a great place to start and a great place to go to find work. Networking with people on LinkedIn can be difficult though, because a lot of people are like, oh, just leave me alone. So it can get hard. But I find if you want to actually network with people, you have to like physically like network with them. So like actually meet up with them. A great way to do that is through things like BNI groups or meetup.com, to find groups of similar interest, or at least in the BNI sense of things, to find a business group that you can talk with to actually promote yourself and build a relationship from at the same time. So that's how I know all of these MSPs. I've either worked for them before or I've networked with them at some point. And you build a relationship, and they're going to give the work to the person that they like the most. It's like being at high school, right? You've got to be the guy that people like, unfortunately. But you also need to showcase some skill. So yeah. Will you be at DEF CON this year? No, I have no intention of going to the US ever. It's not my thing. I've been to the US before. It was great. I'm probably never going to go again. So yeah, no, I'm not going to go to DEF CON. I'm going to be chilling like a villain over here in Southeast Asia, just living my best life. But yeah, I think I'm actually out of topics to talk about on this podcast today. Next week, though, I do have I want to showcase a new solution that I'm building that I think is kind of fun. So I wanna show you guys that to show you what it, a sneak peek of what it looks like. So be sure to come onto that. The podcast starts at 9 a.m. Brisbane, Australia time. So or AEST plus 10. So if you want to jump on it next week, then that's the time to look for. I do schedule them in on my Discord server. So if you want to know beforehand what time it's going to start, go to my Discord server, check it out. But until then, I hope you have a fantastic week this week. I hope things go super well for you and that you bring in all of the clients, that you do all the pen tests and all the security analyst work out there. You're protecting all of the things. I hope you guys do well. I'll see you guys next week. Have a fantastic day.